Hey everyone, this is Ben with the Tiger's Den, and today we're going to talk about sandbagging. Sandbagging refers to when you hold a card in your hand in Magic that you could otherwise play, but you don't, because largely of keeping your opponent off of information. So this is going to tie into our earlier video on sequencing. If you haven't watched that yet, I recommend you do it. I think it's a pretty good video. It's a thing that a lot of people can improve their game by doing, and it kind of ties into this one, and it's a good foundation for it. So if you haven't watched that yet, I recommend you check it out first. So sandbagging is usually done with lands, and lands that come into play untapped specifically. And this is usually done just to keep your opponent off of information, because say I have all of my cards out on the table, I have one unknown card in my hand, and then before I go to combat, I just throw it on the table. Now you know that there are no combat tricks, because every piece of information about what I have access to is known. If I have that land in my hand, you don't know if, do I have a combat trick? Do I have another creature that if you block incorrectly, I can put this creature down, which will, maybe it's a Vyashino Pyromancer, maybe I will kill you with it, maybe it's a Lightning Strike that I'll kill you with if you let too much damage through. So now you have to make these plays with incomplete information where, in fact, I'm just holding a mountain maybe, and it's not actually going to do anything to you. There are times when you would want to play this out anyways, but a lot of the time it is safe to keep these come into play untapped lands in your hand because... so you might say, but what if I need that mana? Well, okay, if you have just the land in your hand, in most cases you're safe to leave it there, because next turn, say you draw an expensive creature or planeswalker or spell or something, you can still play that land that you had in your hand from last turn. The only way that you get got by that is if you end up drawing additional cards, and then you need to have played that land to then play another land that you just drew to then play another one of the cards that you drew off of that extra card. So in those cases, it sometimes is right not to sandbag the land, because you might just need to... you might put yourself off of mana if you do sandbag. But even in that case, wait until post-combat to play the land most of the time. Another case is if you have mana sinks, just ways that you can activate your cards that are in play by spend your mana over and over. Like Knight of the Ebon Legion is a good example. If I have 5 lands and I top deck a swamp, that's great because now my Ebon Legion can double pump, and that might be important in the upcoming combat. I might want to hold it in my hand until after combat so that I can attack with one Knight of the Ebon Legion, pump it, play another land, and then be able to pump my second Knight of the Ebon Legion that I held back while keeping off of the information that was a play I was going to have available to me next turn. But generally, in those cases, it's safe to run that out, just knowing that the little bit of information you're keeping off of your opponent may not be worth as much as your ability to activate your abilities over and over as needed. So this is a thing that you can always just keep an eye on. What can you afford to leave in your hand, even if it seems like a relevant card, like a land? Does it actually do anything to play it this turn, or is it better just to keep your opponent guessing and make them worry that you have that card in your hand that could blow them out or just win the game if they play improperly, and then play around things that you don't actually have? Another good time is when your opponent has cast a discard spell, so they've seen your hand, or they've cast a Legion's End and looked at your hand, or anything like that. And so say that you duressed me or you thought erasured me and you saw Swamp Mountain, and then next turn I draw a swamp. I definitely want to play one of those first 2 swamps that you've seen, because if I play the one that I just drew, you still know, because of the MTG interface, MTG Arena interface, you know that I just played the swamp that I top deck, and you still know every card in my hand. Whereas if I play one of the ones with the little eye icon on it, now there is still an unknown card in my hand, and every turn I'm going to draw another card that you don't know about. So you no longer have perfect information. And when someone has perfect information about your hand, that means that they can always play knowing that there are no tricks coming up. There's no way that they're getting their guy cast down and they get blown out on the block, on the double block, or that you're going to be able to pump someone or put that extra point of burn through to kill them. So it's very, very good to keep your opponent off of information, and you can do that by just sandbagging cards when possible. Also, this is another one that you can watch pros do. The decision whether or not to play that last land that's in their hand, if they have no other cards, or even if they do have other cards, sometimes they'll still sandbag something for an opportune time, or to trigger an ability or something like that requires a discard, or to play around a Nicol Bolas that might make them discard a card. That is one reason to run cards out if you think your opponent's going to make you do a non-targeted discard spell like Nicol Bolas the Ravager. So yeah, watch these pro players and watch how they keep cards in their hand and how they run out the cards and when they do those things. And even though it often doesn't get talked about in the commentary, it can give you indications of how you can improve your own play just by thinking, okay, why did they do this here? Do I think that was the right play, and how can I incorporate that into my own gameplay? And as we know, learning magic is a lifelong pursuit because there are so many cool and interesting corner cases and things like that. So keep an eye on that and watch yourself get better. And of course, no one's perfect, including me, so I will try to do that as well. So thank you very much for joining me for this session. If you like what you see, give us a like, comment, subscribe, click the bell for notifications. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. Let us know how we could improve. We always love to hear your feedback and what we can do better for you guys. So again, thank you very much for joining us. This has been Ben with the Tiger's Den. We got more coming up in the near future, and we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.